What if I told you that the most powerful man in Red Bull doesn't even work for the team? And at Spa, someone finally said it to his face on live TV. While Martin Brundle was doing his usual grid walk, Jos Verstappen gave a cold, political answer about Horner's firing.
Well, they decided to change, so I'm fine with everything, so as long as it works.
And then Nico Rosberg walks in.
Jos, last year you said Horner needs to go because you said Horner needs to go last year because he's going to destroy the team.
A year ago, so it's different. I have nothing to say, so it's fine.
Now you're quiet. You're quiet now.
I'm always quiet.
Are you hearing anything from Max about...
Martin Brundle starts his iconic grid walk with a simple, respectful question to Jos Verstappen. Big changes in the team. Are you and Max happy with where it's going? Jos replies like a man who just closed a deal in a boardroom, not a garage. They decided to change, so I'm fine with everything, as long as it works. No emotion, no reflection, just the calm satisfaction of someone who got exactly what he wanted and doesn't want to explain it. But then, boom, Nico Rosberg walks in. No camera crew, no PR filter, just a microphone and guts. He stares Jos down and asks, "Last year you said Horner needs to go." Suddenly, the man who spent over a year throwing public grenades at Christian Horner, the same man who said Red Bull would explode if Horner stayed, now says, "That was 1.5 years ago. It's different. I have nothing to say." Really? You lit the fire, watched it burn for 18 months, and now you're suddenly zen? Rosberg doesn't flinch. He delivers the line of the weekend. Now you're quiet? That wasn't just sarcasm. That was strategy. That was Rosberg publicly calling out what the entire paddock has whispered for over a year. Jos Verstappen wanted Christian Horner gone. And now that he is, Jos pretends like he barely noticed. It's gaslighting on a championship level. Let's call it what it is. Christian Horner didn't just lose his job. He lost a war. A slow, silent, behind-the-scenes coup led by a man who doesn't even wear the team uniform. Since Bahrain 2024, Jos Verstappen has acted like Red Bull's shadow team boss. Max handles the car, Jos handles the politics. And Christian? He became the scapegoat for a team that decided to crown a king without a throne. Rosberg wasn't done. Later, off mic but on air, he tells Brundle that Jos gave Red Bull an ultimatum. Horner goes, or we go to Mercedes. That's not just speculation. That's a warning delivered with a detonator in hand. And Brundle? He doesn't deny it. He says absolutely. He even goes further. I've almost considered Jos the team principal of Red Bull since Bahrain. Do you realize how insane that is? A former driver, one with zero official title, has shaped the direction of $1 billion team more than anyone on the payroll. And everyone just let it happen. This isn't Red Bull racing anymore. It's Verstappen racing, powered by Honda. One driver, one voice, one agenda. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody will admit on camera. Christian Horner didn't fall because of results. He fell because he refused to bow. He tried to lead a team, but he was surrounded by a family building an empire. And when empires want blood, someone always pays the price. Now Jos Verstappen says, "I have nothing to say." Of course he doesn't, because silence is the final power move. It's how you flex after the job's done. But Nico Rosberg saw through it. He shattered the silence. He reminded the world, and Jos, that we didn't forget who threw the first punch. And this time, the microphone hit back. The Verstappens may have control, but at what cost? A fractured team, a broken legacy, a message to every future Red Bull boss: you're not in charge. Because if Jos can end a 13-year reign with a few private threats and some well-timed interviews, then no one is safe. Not Perez, not the engineers, not even Max, if he ever stops towing the family line. Spa 2025 won't be remembered for who won the race. It'll be remembered as the moment someone finally said it out loud. Jos Verstappen didn't influence the team. He owns it. And Nico Rosberg was the only man on the grid with the guts to call that what it is, a takeover. Formula One doesn't do farewells. It does executions, and then it moves on. Christian Horner? Gone. Silenced. Replaced. And while the paddock fakes shock, Zach Brown just said what the rest are thinking, but don't dare say out loud. The sport will move on. Cold. Ruthless. Honest. Let's not rewrite history. Christian Horner was Red Bull Racing. Since day one, back in 2005, he was the frontman, the fire starter, the smug general who led them through 6 Constructors and 8 Drivers' Championships. He gave us the smug smirk behind Vettel's dominance. He gave us the passive-aggressive warfare during Mercedes' reign. He built a dynasty and made sure his face was on every headline. But now, gone in the middle of the season, no press conference, no statement, no dignity. And let's cut the corporate crap. Christian Horner wasn't sacked for performance. He was sacrificed to stop a civil war. There were too many fires, allegations behind the scenes, internal fractures. The Constructors' title lost to Ferrari in 2024. A car, the RB21, struggling in 2025. Max Verstappen whispering about Mercedes. Horner didn't jump. He was pushed. And the one who gave the push likely wore an orange cap and carried the Verstappen surname. So what did Zak Brown say? He didn't offer sympathy. He didn't pretend to miss his old nemesis. He delivered the coldest, most brutal truth of the year. The sport moves on quickly, and he's right. Because while the media cries over Horner's exit, the paddock is already rewriting the script. Red Bull has a new team boss, Laurent Mekies. And according to Zak, Laurent's very good. Translation, I'm not worried. You've just made Red Bull less Red Bull. Let's not pretend Horner and Brown had mutual respect. They hated each other. Zak himself said it wasn't just for Drive to Survive. There's no love lost, he admitted. I don't like how he rolls, and he probably feels the same about me. This wasn't friendly banter. This was open warfare between 2 alpha minds who wanted the same prize: control of the narrative, control of the grid. And now, one of them is out of the picture. But don't confuse that with peace. This only clears space for a new enemy to rise. Zak isn't interested in nostalgia. He's interested in performance, in metrics, in the next threat on the stopwatch. When asked about Horner's downfall, he didn't mourn. He analyzed. Even the worst team in F1 is really good, he said. All this competition makes you better. That's not a compliment. That's a warning. McLaren doesn't care about who's crying in the corner office. They care about who's next on track. And without Horner, Zak believes Red Bull is weaker. Christian Horner wasn't just a team principal. He was a performer. He fed the narrative. He manipulated the drama. He weaponized the press. And now, with him gone, Formula One just lost one of its greatest villains. But maybe that's exactly what Zak Brown wanted. Less noise, less theater, more room for McLaren to build. Quietly, methodically, surgically. Because while Red Bull cleans up its own blood, McLaren's hunting trophies. Here's the truth no one will say on Sky Sports or F1 TV. Christian Horner didn't lose control of Red Bull. He lost control of Max Verstappen. And when the golden child starts hinting at Mercedes, the rest of the structure burns. So Red Bull chose survival over loyalty. And Zak Brown, he saw it coming. He called the drama years ago. He predicted the implosion. He just waited for it to arrive. Now it has. And instead of sympathy, he gives you reality. We won't be talking about Horner by Monday. That's not disrespect. That's Formula One. Red Bull fired Christian Horner, handed the keys to Laurent Mekies. And now, the truth about the RB21 is finally out. And it's brutal. Because Mekies didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't play politics. He looked straight into the cameras and said what Horner never dared to admit. Does it bring performance? Yes. Does it bring enough? Number. Does it fix the car? Number. It's as simple as that. Let's not pretend this is just another update cycle. This is a crisis. Red Bull isn't leading the pack. It's chasing shadows. McLaren is evolving every weekend. Ferrari is biting at their heels. Mercedes is waking up. And Red Bull? They're patching holes on a concept that might already be dead. Mekies walked into hell. Just days after the British Grand Prix, he inherited the ruins of a once untouchable empire. An RB21 that even Max Verstappen can't tame. A fractured structure post-Horner. And the ghost of a 2024 season where McLaren stole the Constructors' title. Imagine being handed the steering wheel, just as the car's about to hit the wall. Yes, Max won the sprint. Yes, 4 Red Bull drivers started inside the top 10. But don't get distracted. On Sunday, Verstappen only qualified 4th. And the upgrades? They touched everything. Front wing, side pods, engine cover, rear suspension, rear corners. That's not evolution, that's desperation. You don't replace 5 major areas of the car unless you're admitting something is fundamentally broken. After the race, Mekies didn't hide. He didn't quote wind tunnel numbers or sell dreams. He gave reality. We're happy with the package, but it's not enough. It doesn't fix the balance problems. Those words matter, because balance problems mean Max can't predict the car. And if Max Verstappen can't find confidence, the car might be a rocket ship with a blindfolded pilot. Let's be honest, Red Bull's golden era is crumbling. Not because of raw pace, but because other teams stopped fearing them. McLaren walks into race weekends expecting to beat them now. Ferrari expects a fight. Even Visa Cash App Racing Bulls is starting to look relevant again. Meanwhile, Red Bull is rebuilding mid-season with a new boss during a 3-way arms race. That's not dominance, that's survival mode. Laurent Mekies is no fool. He's not here to be Christian Horner 2.0. He's not smiling for Netflix. He's not flirting with controversy. He's here to clean up a mess, and it's bigger than anyone thought. He knows Red Bull can't win 2026 with a 2021 philosophy duct taped to a broken floor. He's looking at McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and realizing they've already started building for the next era. And Red Bull, they're just trying to stop the bleeding. This isn't about suspension geometry or side pod inlets. This is about momentum. Red Bull built a dynasty by staying one step ahead, but now they're reacting, copying, hoping. And in Formula One, once you start reacting, you're already behind. Time is the real enemy now. 2026 is coming like a freight train. New regulations, new aero, new power units, new era. Red Bull has 1 year left to either fix the car or build a new kingdom. Because if they don't, McLaren won't just beat them, they'll replace them. Mekies is right. The updates helped, but the car's still unpredictable, still unstable, still not worthy of a 3-time world champion. And the scariest part, there's no miracle package coming. No B-spec, no reset. This is the car. And Max Verstappen? He's already looking at 2026. Laurent Mekies might not be the savior Red Bull wanted, but he might be the only adult left in the room. He's not pretending. He's not panicking. He's just laying out the truth, line by line, like a man with nothing to lose and everything to fix. You want to know the first major change at Red Bull after Christian Horner was sacked? It wasn't technical. It wasn't political. It was emotional, and Nico Rosberg saw it before anyone else did. On Yuki Tsunoda's face, a smile, a real one, because for the first time in years, Red Bull doesn't feel like Max Verstappen racing. It feels like a team. Spa 2025, qualifying ends. Yuki Tsunoda returns to the garage after putting his car in P7, his best grid slot of the season. And then it happens. He looks to the pit wall, and Laurent Mekies, Red Bull's brand new team boss, is there, smiling, thumbs up, proud. A moment that would have never happened under Christian Horner. Nico Rosberg didn't miss it. On Sky Sports, he pointed it out immediately. He has now really empowered Yuki Tsunoda, gave him the new upgrade, gave him trust, gave him visibility, gave him respect. You know what that is? Leadership. And under Horner, that leadership had a one-driver policy. Support Max, ignore the rest. This wasn't just a lack of parts. It was a lack of belief. Rosberg even said, "Before, I heard Yuki felt like he was on an island. It was all about Max." Think about that, a Red Bull-backed driver, in the same garage, running the same colors, and feeling completely alone. That's not team culture, that's a monarchy. This weekend, Tsunoda didn't just get encouragement, he got the floor. The exact same high-spec upgrade that Verstappen had. Not after 2 races, not when it was safe, not as an afterthought. He got it mid-weekend, between the sprint and main qualifying. That's not just trust, that's risk. That's saying, you're worth the gamble. And let's be clear, it was a gamble. Laurent Mekies admitted it. They rushed the installation. They left the garage late for quali. Yuki had 0 time to adjust. Most drivers, they would have cracked. But Tsunoda? He delivered his best Saturday of the year. He adapted. He pushed. He proved he deserves more than just a support role. This is the most underrated storyline of 2025. Because while everyone's talking about Horner's firing and Mackey's appointment and Verstappen's future, they're missing the actual shift. The garage feels different now. Less hierarchy, less tension, more equality. Yuki Tsunoda isn't being treated like the spare part in a Max Verstappen machine. He's being treated like a driver. Yes, Yuki didn't score points, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that the team finally gave him the tools before asking for the results. For years, Red Bull ran like a dictatorship. Now Mackey's is changing that, not with slogans or press releases, but with actions. A thumbs up, a floor upgrade, a split-second decision that said, "We believe in you too." Let's be honest, Red Bull doesn't just need performance, they need culture rehab. Horner ruled with control. Jos Verstappen still lurks in the shadows. Max calls more shots than most engineers. But Mackey's? He's already disrupting the system, quietly, strategically, intentionally. And the first domino was Yuki Tsunoda. Because if Yuki can be trusted, if Lawson gets equal footing, if Haja's talent isn't buried behind branding deals, then Red Bull becomes something it hasn't been since 2021. A team with depth, a team with future, a team that doesn't live or die by Max alone. And that is more dangerous than any upgrade on the grid. Christian Horner won races, he won titles, he won power struggles, but he never empowered the second seat. He never built for tomorrow. He played politics and protected a pyramid, where Max stood alone at the top. Mackey's? He's already flattening that structure and giving every driver a fighting chance. That's not a technical revolution, that's a cultural one. And it started with a smile and a thumbs up.